In freedom, as in enslavement, the Muslims place their hope in Islam, their strength, and their comfort. But for many, Islam and its complex relationship with the multiform slave trades within and out of Africa was also what had brought them in chains to the Western Hemisphere, as the first chapter of this book illustrates. As Muslims in Christian lands, the involuntary immigrants faced daunting obstacles to maintain and express their faith. Notwithstanding the limits imposed on them by their subordinate status, many succeeded in following the principles of their religion. How they upheld the 5 pillars of Islam in their new world is the subject of Chapter 2. A double minority, religious and ethnic, in the colonial world, as well as an enslaved community, the West African Muslims strove hard to maintain their traditions, values, customs, and identity. At the same time, paradoxically, Islam was one of the engines of upward mobility within the structure of slavery. The Muslims' mode of survival, their success in the preservation of their traditions, and their relations with non-Muslim enslaved and enslavers are explored in Chapter 3. Muslims arrived in the Americas with a tradition of Arabic literacy that they struggled to preserve. It set them apart within the enslaved community and vis-a-vis the larger society. Literacy, a distinction and a danger, and its various uses and expressions are discussed in Chapter 4. Well organized and a galvanizing force, Islam was sometimes the catalyst of insubordination. It played a part in some uprisings and was a motivating force that sent freed men and women back to Africa, as is exposed in Chapter 5. Islam's mark can be found in certain religions, traditions, and artistic creations of the people of African descent. But for all their contributions and accomplishments, the Muslims have largely been ignored. Chapter 6 examines their legacy and ponders their disappearance from collective memory. Because Islam, as maintained by the West Africans, did not outlive the men and women who brought it to the New World, one might think that the African Muslims failed, that their story speaks of defeat and subjugation. Through examining their history, their stories, and their legacy, however, this book reveals that what they wrote on the sand of the plantations, in their clandestine Quranic schools, and in the secret of their homes, is a successful story of strength, resilience, courage, and dignity.